everybody. Welcome to another 30-minute yoga practice. My name is Beth. So glad you're here today. I love the practice we're going to do today. This is something that I do typically every night because I find it relaxing to do right before bed. You can do it any time, but it's a little bit gentler, maybe not in some places, but it's just a nice full body kind of slowing down kind of practice. So I'm glad you're here. I hope you find it helpful. We're going to start on our backs. I love that. So come all the way down on your back. Kind of like a shavasana, right? And just bring your arms to the sides. And notice that you're lying flat on your mat. Bring your thoughts here. That sounds so obvious, but a lot of times when we come into a really easy pose like that, we just get on the mat and then we start thinking about other things. No, try to know and be aware and be present in the fact that you're doing yoga, you're lying flat on your back, and notice in your body maybe where you're feeling tension. Okay, maybe it's your shoulders, your hips, whatever. Just take inventory of how your body's doing right now. And also notice if your legs feel like they're the same length or if one leg feels longer than the other. That's always interesting to check out. That's a sign that maybe our hips are not squared off. So if you feel like your legs are not even, then just adjust your hips so that it feels like your legs are the same length. And just slowly roll your head from side to side. You can close your eyes while you do this and try to coordinate your head rolls with your breathing. So inhaling when your head rolls to one side and exhaling when the head rolls to the other side. And noticing too, if one side feels a little tighter than the other, or maybe they're both tight, maybe neither are tight, just notice and stay present. All right, bring your head back to center. We're going to start our practice with a very relaxing breathing called 4-7-8 breathing. We've done this before. You inhale to the count of 4, you hold the breath for the count of 7, and then you exhale through the mouth for a count of 8. Now, if that combination of numbers is too weird for you, you can change it up, but make sure the inhale is the shortest, hold your breath longer, and then exhale even longer still. This relaxes the central nervous system, turns off that fight or flight, so it's a really good breathing technique. Let's just do a couple of rounds right here to help relax us and prepare us for our practice. You can close your eyes if you like. So here we go. We'll do it together, but if you need to change it up, feel free. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do one more on your own. And then when you finish that round, just go back to your normal deep breathing. So try to stay deep into the belly on your inhales, nice long. Exhales, pulling the navel in. We'll try to maintain that throughout. But let's add some twists here. So open your arms out to the sides. Bend your knees. Feet are hip distance apart. You can press your lower back into the mat if you like. You get a nice massage there as we let the knees just rainbow from side to side. So bring the knees to one side and then the other side, and nice and slowly. The knees may or may not make it all the way down to the floor. That doesn't matter. What matters is both shoulders stay on the mat and that you're getting a nice massage of the lower back as you transverse the mat with your knees. And you feel that nice stretch through the side body when the knees are in their kind of resting place. And then just notice anything else you're feeling in your body. Try to keep your shoulders relaxed. And then the next time your knees are coming over to the left, bring them all the way down to the floor. If they don't make it to the floor, you can put a pillow under there or some books or blocks if you have them, so that you can really rest into the pose. You can let the knees fall where they want to fall with the hips, with the right hip kind of off to the right, or you can go a little deeper into the stretch by stacking the hips, stacking the knees and the ankles. If you're going to do that, make sure that right shoulder stays on the mat, okay? So you have some options here. Take a deep breath in, turn your head to the right, spread your fingers, reach the arms in opposite directions, and as you exhale, lift that right arm all the way up towards the ceiling, reaching up high, not just pulling that arm across, but reaching up high, and then bringing that right hand over the left hand or reaching past it for an even a deeper stretch. And then inhale, open, follow the movement with your eyes, so eyes on your hand. And then exhale, nice and slowly, reach up high, reach out, either stacking or going further. And then come back to that open position as you inhale. So just a couple more. Go at your own pace. I really love this movement, especially after a long day. If you've been sitting at your desk, over your computer, or any sitting motion, this is kind of nice to release the upper back. Okay, this will be the last one here. And then bring the knees back to center. And this time separate your feet the width of the mat. And go back to that rocking motion with the knees. And notice if that feels any different with the legs slightly apart. And once again, it doesn't matter if the knees meet the floor. What matters is that you feel movement in your hips. Nothing hurts. Getting the side of the legs, getting some stretching in there, in the side body as well. And then one more time, and the next time the knees are coming over to the right, same thing. You can just let the knees fall where they want to be, or you can go back into that stacked position, which is a little bit of a deeper stretch. Inhale, make sure both shoulders are on the mat. Turn your head to the left. Stretch the arms in opposite directions, and then as you exhale, reach that left arm up and over. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. A couple more times. Just moving like this, moving with the breath. Let's do one more time. I was just thinking today how much I miss all of you. I miss seeing you live here at the gym. This is the next best thing, but not as good as being there. Isn't that a commercial? Bring your knees back to center. Straighten your legs on the mat. Bring your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers and press your palms away from you as you stretch in opposite directions. And then exhale, pull your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice hug, but keep your tailbone on the mat and just rock from side to side. Getting a nice full massage in the spine and the lower back. All right, extend your legs up towards the ceiling. Point your toes. Engage your core. Just notice where you are in this pose. Some of you will feel better if you bend your knees. Some of you will have your legs down here a little bit more. Wherever you end up in the pose is fine. Just bring your arms to the sides. And then let's scissor our legs. So separate your legs as far as they go for a nice stretch through the inner thigh and groin. And then slowly bring the legs back together, crossing at the ankles. Separate the legs, let them fall out to the side. And then bring them back together, but now alternate the ankles, crossing at the ankles. Toes are nice and pointed. Kneecaps are pulling up. Belly's pulling in. If this is hurting your lower back, you can bring your hands under your hips, which really helps quite a bit. Try to keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. We're going to add on to this in just a moment, but nice and slow and controlled in your movement so you can match the movement with your breath. Okay? Inhaling while the legs are open and exhaling as they're closing up. Let's just do one more. Just bring your legs back together and then bring your arms up overhead. We're going to add some crunches here. So as the legs separate, lift your head, neck, and shoulders nice and slowly and reach like you have a big beach ball in your hand that you're trying to pass through to somebody else. And then as the legs come together, your arms come back to that starting position. Try to coordinate the movement between your arms and your legs and breathing, okay? So we're exhaling when we're lifting up and inhaling when we're coming down. So keep going. I see people in the gym, not necessarily doing yoga, but doing, something similar to this. And they're just speeding through the movement. But what we want to do is move slowly so that we're making sure we're using our breath, but also noticing every part of this movement. Where are you feeling it? Where are you tensing up where you don't need to be tense? Are you staying present, or are you thinking about the next thing on your to-do list? Very easy to do. Couple more right here. Last one. And then hug your knees into your chest. Thank your legs for all that work. Maybe rock from side to side. That always feels good. And then release your feet to the mat. Just bring your arms to the side. Let's do some pelvic tilts. The back gets a little tight after those scissors. So take a deep breath in here. And as you exhale, press your lower back into the mat and tilt your pelvis up so that the pelvic bone is kind of lifting towards you a little bit. And then inhale and release. Go back to your natural spine. So a little bit of a curve in the spine. Exhale, press the spine down. You can contract the pelvic floor here if you like to. And then relax as you release. Let's do two more. Exhaling and pulling everything in. Belly's going in, pelvic floor is pulling up. And then relax. Last one. And this time, as we're coming out of it, root down in through your feet and then lift your hips up off the mat for bridge pose. Walk your shoulder blades or your shoulders closer in towards the mat so you can really lift through the hips. Root down through your feet and squeeze your glutes. Now, some yoga teachers will say don't squeeze your glutes, and some say to squeeze your glutes. So try both and see what feels better for you. Make sure the knees are in line with the hips. A lot of times in bridge pose, they kind of flop out to the side, so keep those engaged. Nice stretch through the quads. And let's just stay here for a couple of breaths, and as you inhale, see if you can get your chest to get closer to your chin so that you can really feel that whole container fill up with your breath. Nice. Walk your right foot over to the center of your mat and then lift your left leg up towards the ceiling. Oh my gosh. If you have tight hamstrings, you're going to feel them now. Couple circles in one direction. couple in the opposite direction. Slowly release. Cross that left ankle over the right thigh. Take your left hand and just press that thigh, the left thigh, away from you. Get a nice stretch through the groin here. And then release. Lift your right foot up off the mat and grab onto your right thigh. Interlace your fingers around that leg. Flex both ankles. If you want a deeper stretch, you can grab onto under your knee, but make sure your head and shoulders can stay on the mat. If they lift up, grab a pillow or something and put it under you so that you're not feeling strained. So take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, pull that right leg in towards you a little bit more, and just stop when you notice that left hip stretch. You don't have to go very far to get that stretch. And let's hold this for about 6 breaths. So practice our deep belly breathing, trying to turn off that stretch reflex in the body. When we start stretching, the body resists that in order to keep the body safe. But we're safe. We're not going to hurt anything. We're not going to stay here too long. So the more we breathe deeply and turn off that fight or flight syndrome, the deeper the stretch we'll have. About 3 more breaths right here. Last breath. And then slowly release your posture. Straighten your legs out on the mat. Bring your arms up overhead and stretch. And then pull your legs in towards your chest. Rock from side to side. We'll do that whole sequence on the other side. Releasing your feet back down to the mat. Arms can be at the sides. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, tilt your pelvis and peel your spine away from the mat, pushing your hips up towards the ceiling. Squeeze those glutes or not. Remember, we said either way there. Root down through your feet. Walk your shoulders in so you get a little bit more height. And notice, so second time doing this pose, notice if it feels a little bit easier. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more flexible in those quads, or maybe not. Maybe it's harder the second time. There's no right way. Just notice what's right for you. A little harder to breathe because your breathing is cut off a little bit, so do your best there. Walk your left foot over towards the center line of the mat. Root down through that left foot and raise that right leg up towards the ceiling. Pointing the toes. Oh my gosh, those hamstrings. Couple circles in one direction. And then in the opposite direction. Remember, if anything hurts, come out of it. Yoga should never hurt. And then release. Cross that right ankle over the left thigh. Right hand on the right thigh. Push that leg away from you. Nice stretch through the psoas muscle here. And then release. Grab onto the left thigh. Flex both ankles. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, pull that leg towards you. Notice the stretch in the right hip. And we're going to hold this for 6 breaths. Remembering to relax the body into the pose. Close your eyes. You can focus on the muscle lengthening, or you can focus on other parts of your body that are not in the pose, like your face, making sure that's nice and relaxed. Or you can simply stay on your breath, visualizing the oxygen coming into your body and nourishing every cell in your body. And every exhale, cleansing the body. So lots of things to focus on. Just stay on your practice. Don't think about the next thing you have to do today. One more breath. Nice. And release your posture. Nice long stretch here. And then bend your knees and bring your hands under your knees. And let's roll back and forth a couple of times. So up on your mat and then rolling back. When you come up into that seated position, try not to let your heels come to the mat. Try to stay up with a flat back to start, balancing on your sits bones. And then as you roll back, curving through your spine. So a couple of those. Nice massage for the spine. And then come onto your mat in a seated position into hero's pose. I'm going to stay sideways because we're going to add to this. So we did this before. Hero's pose, we did this last week. Hero's pose, ankles and toes are together. And you can just let your hands come to the side. Close your eyes. And notice where you're feeling this the most in your body. A lot of people feel it in the ankles because it is an ankle stretch. A lot of people feel it in their quads. If this feels good and if this feels as far as you want to go, stay right here, okay? If it doesn't feel good, if it's too much on the knees, grab a couple blocks. 1 block, 2 blocks, pillows, books, whatever you have, and that makes it a lot easier, okay? And you're still getting a nice stretch through the quads, so that's perfect. But otherwise, if this feels good and you want to go further, bring your hands behind you. Lean into your hands and notice how that feels. Maybe it's a little bit of a deeper stretch. Maybe that feels better. Some people like to lift their hips up off their heels to get even a longer stretch. So you can add that to the pose if you want. That's an option. So play with that. If you want to go deeper still, you can try coming onto your elbows. Deep, deep quad stretch. So try one elbow and see how it feels. And if that feels okay, bring the second elbow down towards the mat. What happens here is that the knees want to lift up off the mat because the quads are not long enough to hold the pose. But if you press the knees down, you get a nice stretch through the quads. So you can add that. Some people go all the way down flat onto their shoulders. I'm not going to do that, but you're welcome to add that on if you like. And then just stay here for a couple of breaths, noticing. So whatever version of the pose you're in, just pause and notice. And then slowly come out of whatever version of the pose that you're in, and let's reset with a child's pose. So coming forward, reaching towards the top of your mat and pressing your tailbone back. That's a nice opposite pose. And then on your next breath, slide forward into Sphinx. So on your forearms, drop your hips to the mat. Relax your hips and your belly. Press your shoulders back, shine your heart forward, and press your forearms into the mat. But as you do that, make sure you're relaxing your hips. So you get a nice curve through the spine. Couple breaths right here. Try not to lift the chin too much, it creaks the neck. So kind of gaze off the top of your mat. And then release all the way down to your mat. Stack your hands at the front of your mat. Let your forehead rest on your top hand. Bend your knees. Just let your legs float from side to side. So you can go nice and gently here. Some people like to really twist through the waist too while they're doing that. So yogi's choice, but this is a nice massage for the quads since we just stretch those out. And then bring the feet back to center. Release the feet all the way to the mat. And then bend that left knee and slide that leg out to the left. so that you're creating 3 right angles, one at the hip, one at the knee, and one at the ankle. Rest your head on your hands. And if you don't feel this, we're stretching the psoas muscle. If you don't feel this, kind of press the hip, not with your hands, I'm just doing that to show you, but energetically press that hip down into the mat. And then you feel a little tiny stretch. It's very subtle, but it's good. This is not a position that we get into a lot in our daily life, so it's nice to add that to a practice. So just a couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready, you can switch sides. Sliding that right knee out. Check to make sure you have 3 right angles. Pressing that right side down. So now, it's funny, I didn't feel anything on my left side, but on the right side I really feel it. So you might have a similar experience or maybe not, but always being aware of how each pose feels in your body. And then come up onto your forearms. Pull that right knee in just a little bit, and then bring that left leg out again for frog pose. So just kind of pressing the knees away from each other. Walking the hands out a little bit more. Maybe your hips make it all the way down to the mat. Mine are not even close. That's okay. Just however you are in the pose, just notice it. It's a deep stretch through the groin. Don't overdo it. If it starts to hurt, come out of it. Notice the breath. And then bring your hands to the mat. Bring those knees together. Cross your ankles. Let's flip over onto the other side. And come all the way down to your mat. Pull those knees into your chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. That always feels good no matter what's going on, right? Extend your right leg on your mat. Hug your left knee into your left shoulder. And then let's raise that right leg up and draw big circles in the air, as big as you can. Trying to keep the rest of the body stable. And then a couple in the opposite direction. Nice long leg. Think long. Just don't push that leg up, but reach up towards the ceiling and then out to the sides. And then switch legs. A lot of hip work today. So you might feel that. Pull that right knee into the right shoulder and then make circles with the left leg. So the hips need this kind of movement. All of our joints need full rotation in order to stay healthy. There are even finger exercises we can do to keep those knuckles healthy, but hips especially, we need to, other direction. We want to keep those hips rotated because that's what creates lubrication in the joints, and that's something that keeps them nice and healthy. All right, both knees into the chest. Extend your legs on the mat, reach in opposite directions. And relax into Shavasana. Because we did so much hip work today, you might want to do Shavasana in butterfly pose, bringing the soles of your feet together, relaxing your arms to the sides. Or if you want to do Shavasana in the regular way, feel free. It's always yogi's choice. Well, always yogi's choice, but especially in Shavasana. Deep breath in through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. One more time, inhale. And exhale. Just as we started, know that your body is on the mat. Know that you're resting after your practice. Know that all the benefits of your practice are taking hold right now. And roll onto your side. Help yourself up into any seated position on the mat as we close our practice. Good for you for taking some time to move and breathe. Your body is thanking you, and you might notice it by getting a better night's sleep tonight. Sometimes the benefits from our practice appear in a time that we're not even expecting it. So good for you for showing up today. Make sure you check out all the Driven videos on YouTube. They're really awesome. So glad we have those available to you and to us. We take advantage of them too. So good to be with you all. Have a great rest of the day. Stay healthy, stay safe. Namaste.